What's up, DigiDestins? Today we're gonna have a fun video from basically my deck profile for Bloomlord that got me into a top 4 finish in a case tournament over the weekend. So guys, without further ado, let's dive in the video and talk about it. Got me 6th place over Swiss, was a record of 3-2, and that's just because we had 28 players, 26 players if I remember correctly, 28 or 26. That's quite a lot of players at the end of the day. That means a lot of good reps and everything like that. And being one of the only 2 Bloomlord players to walk up into the event and still take a top finish like that is really good. The only major losses I lost to were actually people that were in the top finishes. So first off, I lost to Royal Knights, which got first place in Swiss all around. He took it, went undefeated with Royal Knights, so I'll take that. I was actually pretty close to actually beating him game 3, which would have led to a possible finish there. It was just, I didn't find pieces, and it just comes down to it a lot of the times is you just don't find your pieces, and then you sit out for a turn, and that just kills you. So that's really important there. And then, you have effects that are basically, the next loss was Red Hybrid. Game 1 I took, Game 2 I lost, Game 3 was close, but then I bricked at the end and I just couldn't get that drive as well. And a lot of times it just feels like the deck is just, you lose to a bad guess on what you're trying to get. So it comes down to the resource management you lose out on. You digivolve on the wrong thing. You need to digivolve on the correct thing, and then you can go off. But the problem comes down to, if you don't have that piece in hand and you're banking on the next draw to be one of those 2 pieces, you don't know which one you're going to have to make the play for. So that's kind of huge information that you don't always have. And then the other loss was against Mirage in the top 8 cut. I faced quite a few variety decks. First off, I faced off against Levy Setcon, which was really interesting of a list. Then I faced against Red Hybrid, won against that pretty decently. Game 1, I just had the nuts. I mean, literally the nuts. He goes up, gives me 3 memory, and then boom, I just go explosive and just clear his board, clear all security. The HBD combo with Bloomlord, gain a bunch of memory, and your opponent's just staring at what you're doing. So that's kind of huge there. And then 3rd round was the Royal Knight player, played all 3 games, really good, lost game 1, got game 2, and that was just because I just applied so much pressure with double Bloomlord and went off from there. And that's kind of scary for a lot of decks to deal with, is the double Bloomlord play, just because you can clear out so much security without breaking a sweat. So that's huge. And then you do have other plays that happen as well. Then round 4 was against Red Hybrid. I lost that one, but it was a double loss that kind of upset me a little bit, tilted me. But then we faced against Blue Flare. We did quite well against game 1. I just got trashed, and then game 2 and 3 were just a little bit better in my favor. Game 2 he bricked, and game 3 was close and everything like that. But you know what? We put a clock on him. Then we got into top 8 of Swiss. We played against a Deva deck. Deva deck was pretty scary, actually. It was a lot of challenging thought processes, everything going for it. So it took me some time to think it through, because Devas were like the least deck I have knowledge of, just because, they do have a lot of aces. It's an ace heavy deck. So, the major thing on that, I took it to 3. Game 1 was close and stuff like that. But what were really big MVPs were Hydramon and Quantums. Just because being able to remove things, get it down, and just have it so that Digimon effects are making your life easy is so huge, especially because that deck is heavy reliant on Digimon. As long as you don't guess wrong, you have a 50-50 shot. Most of their deck is basically Digimon, there's very little options to Tamer ratio. So stuff like that is really good. And then Mirage got game 1. Game 2, just Mimi screwed me. He didn't have... he wouldn't have been able to kill me if Mimi didn't show up and I had to add a card. And if Mimi wasn't in the security, I was fine. But Mimi hurt me. So gave him a free added value, and he would have had to pass turn to be able to combo fully off. And that's huge information there. But stuff happens. It happens. And then I would have been able to crack back and actually possibly win it. That's the thing. But you know what? It happens. And then game 3, I misplayed in game 3, which cost me the game. I mismemoried. I should have went into Bloom, set up, thrown in, tilled, and then suspend, got rid of for, you know, Lily. But that's just what happens sometimes. But all in all, let's get into the card by card now. So first off, let's talk about it. We have 4 Kokomon. Kokomon is fantastic. So when an effect suspends one of your Digimon, draw a card. So Kokomon is your draw engine. Most of the time you go off pretty quickly. And you always have a thin deck. The only time you don't want to have all this draw is against Mirage. But you just got to play to your outs. And then 1 Gummymon. Gummymon is when one of your opponent's Digimon is suspended, draw a card. Sometimes this is a really dead card. Other times it's a solid card. Sometimes I was debating on making this Argomon just because of that unsuspend aspect. But you know what? Being your opponent suspend, draw a card is not a terrible thing. So this is the rookies. Well, trainings. Tamer. So yeah, solid. Then we do play 4 Palmon Searcher. So this one reveals the top 4, add 1 fairy and then a vegetation and plant. So in its traits. So very important, it can grab you, net you 2 cards, net you 1. So not a bad thing. And then placing it at the bottom of the deck in any order. I really like it. Then we do have 4 of basically what makes this deck really scary now is Palmon X Antibody. So this thing digivolves on top of any Palmon for 0, and then has a great inheritable for when one of your green Digimon is played, green Tamers is played, gain 1 memory. So that's vital information because you can play down a Mimi, especially with a Togemon out. You get that 3, and then Palmon X gains you the memory. So then on play, when digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So that is very important because this now replaces Pumamon in every sense of the word. This gives you a consistency piece that you always needed because this Palmon comes down and suspends anything. So this combos extremely well with its counterpart, Palmon for BT-15. So start of your main phase, one of your opponent's Digimon gets all turns. When the Digimon becomes suspended, lose 2 memory and until the end of turn. And then when the Digimon would digivolve, if you have a green Tamer, reduce the digivolution cost by 1. So Palmon's really solid that way, and I really do like it. Just sometimes you just need that value. And then we did play 2 Pumamon from BT-9. So BT-9 Pumamon is in here for one reason and one reason only, and that is to deal with Biting Crush. This card is to deal with the purple matchup because we could lose that matchup hard if not under the right circumstances. So this thing is either you get that into trash and then you set up, but a lot of the times it's trying to get to Pumamon as soon as possible, even in the Royal Knight matchup, which you want to have. So I think that's very important. And that is our rookies. Very solid, actually. Then we do have 4 BT-10 Sunflowmon. So this thing is when digivolving, suspend one of your green Digimon. You may play 1 Digimon with vegetation, plant, fairy in one of its traits, and with 3000 DP from your hand without paying its cost. So this would lead into combos of, let's say you have Palmon out, and you needed to slam down to... You can't digivolve right now, but you needed a wider board. So slam down Palmon X Antibody, suspends their thing. You could digivolve on top of Palmon to gain some value out of it that way, but you know what? You could always slam down this. This is usually my favorite go-to target, Palmon. Be able to search and gain pieces, which really do help out because that snowball effect was sometimes the greatest things ever because I would be able to search and gain the pieces I needed. Then we do play 3 of this Sunflow. This was another valid target that I would actually play as well to set myself up depending on the circumstances. By spending one of your Digimon may digivolve into a Digimon card with Fairy in one of its traits with a reduced Digievolution cost of 2. And then it does have an inheritable when this Digimon would digivolve if you have a green Tamer, reduce the cost by 1. So we are relying on our green Tamers just a tad bit. But the Sunflowmon's really solid because by suspending this Digimon, you get to digivolve into your Fairy. That means an Ultimate Fairy, or your Bloomlord, or your Quantumon. So, that's very important. And then you do have, when effect suspends one of your Digimon, draw a card. Really solid. And then the last champion we are playing is 2 Togemon. So Togemon's in here for one reason and one reason only, for reduced costing of our Tamers, which means our Mimis are coming in for either 1 or 0s. And then when this Digimon would digivolve, if you have a green Tamer, it reduces the Digivolution cost by 1. So one thing you need to remember is that you can miss timing on this inheritable stacks. So just remember that, because if you use any reductions, those disappear. They don't come back. So we have a draw inheritable and then 2 Digievolution reductions, which is quite useful. Then we do have Agitarmon. So this card is needed to be at 4. I was playing at 3 and then realized it needed to be 4 before the event, so I bumped it up to 4. So by suspending one of your green Digimon, you may play one Digimon with 3000 DP with Vegetation, Plant, you know the drill. And then it does have, when an effect suspends one of your Digimon, gain a memory. So this would combo nicely with Bloomlord. Sometimes I would miss timing on this as well because I didn't have a body to suspend, and Bloomlord would just be, one rookie, Bloomlord, go for it. So that's kind of how that would go off sometimes, and it's not terrible. Agitar is really solid. Then we did play 3 Lilymon Ace. So this was comboing really nicely with, Sunflow. People would question every time when this going like, well, it has to be Sunflow. No, it's any of your Digimon can digivolve as long as I suspend the Sunflow. So this would make Lily Ace come in 1 reduced cost, or I would just blast evolve on my opponent's turn, suspend, get their champion or rookie off the board, and then your opponent's just staring at you looking pretty. So stuff like that's very important. It's not really here for more than anything, just to suspend a target and just so you can get in there with Bloomlord. So stuff like that matters at times, and that's why it's in here at 3. Might change this and bring it down to 2. Sometimes I didn't really need it as much, but it was useful. Then we have 1 Blossomon and then 1 Cherry. So Blossomon is just a vanilla, Digisorption 3. Free evolve when you bring him in. And then you have Cherrymon for a 1 cost evolve. And then when an opponent's Digimon attacks, you may switch the target to one of your suspended Digimon. So comes up in decent matchups. Not really as crazily needed, but it's always in there just so that you can redirect and do what you need to do. Then we do have 4 of Bloomlord. Bloomlord's really just one of the powerhouses of the deck. So when digivolving, suspend one of your Digimon, then gain 1 memory for each Digimon with Plant, Vegetation, or Fairy in its traits that you have in play. And then if you gain 2 or more, you unsuspend this Digimon and it gains Piercing for the turn. Then for every 2 suspended Digimon you have in play, this Digimon gains plus 2000 DP and Security Attack plus 1. So this lets you multi-attack and do some crazy shenanigan combos. I like it a lot. Then we do have the newest card in the deck, and that's Quantumon. So when digivolving, by placing one Digimon at the top of its owner's security stack, reveal all your opponent's security stack, place 1 card from among them at the top of your opponent's deck, shuffle the rest, and then return the security stack. So what's vital about this is you don't have to return their Digimon, you can return one of your weakers. And sometimes that knowledge was huge, especially allowed me to get into security a little bit earlier without worrying about anything. Being able to remove a security from your opponent is huge because now oh wait, that Chaos Degradation that's going on top. Call option. This thing's now protected from options. And start of your opponent's turn, declare one category, which is Tamer, option, or Digimon. This now is protected from it. So, like, even with Biting Crush and stuff like that, my opponent will target this and go like, well, it's unaffected because I called option. So they forget about that it has a protected layer on that. And then basically, even if you call it wrong, you decide where that card goes. So after the first use and you get it right, any other times it's just plus value. So being able to say Digimon, hit it right. Okay, that Digimon's going to help you out. Let me bottom that. Oh, look, he hasn't seen a rookie all game. Hey, look, there's the rookie he's going to need. Well, I called it wrong. I said option. But that rookie is vital to his strategy. We're going to bottom it. Let's hope that he doesn't draw that rookie. Now, shutting him off from key pieces, which is huge. Then we do have one Hydramon. Hydramon basically says, screw your board. We're going to take stuff out. When digivolving, you may spend one of yours or your opponent's Digimon. Then, when an opponent's Digimon becomes suspended for each of your suspended Digimon with vegetation, plant, or fairy in its traits, you gain one memory. And if you have 2 or more suspended Digimon with vegetation, plant, or fairy in its traits, place one of your opponent's suspended Digimon at the bottom of its owner's deck. Really solid, gets rid of threats very easily, and I like it a lot. Then we do have 2 Quartzmon. So Quartzmon's in here just because this thing locks people out of games, and it has led to win victories. So this thing basically comes in for 6, reduce cost of Digievolution by 1, and then basically, you know, because we have these stacks that have those inheritables, Quartzmon will then basically suspend the board and lock your opponent out. So when digivolving, you suspend the whole board, Digimon and Tamers and all. And then basically you gain 2 memory for every suspended Digimon and Tamer at 2 combo. So if there's 10, you gain 5. There's 4, you gain 2. You know, that's huge information. Then all turns, when this Digimon, all turns other than this Digimon cannot unsuspend, which is huge. And then suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers, then trash the top card of their opponent's security stack for every 5 Digimon combination of Digimon and Tamer. So there's only 5, you trash 1. If there's 10 things, you trash that. And it counts itself when it's suspended. So huge information on that. So this is kind of the mega lineup. The only thing I might change is bring down Bloomlord, but there was occasions where there was 2 Bloomlords in security and I had to dig for these 2. So stuff like that is very important, but I think this is a really solid level 7 to level 6 ratio. And then we do have some Mimis. This girl here, this Mimi, the new Mimi for BT-14 is really nutty. So on play, reveal the top 3 cards, add 1 card with vegetation, plant, or fairy in one of its traits among them to your hand, return the rest to the bottom of the deck. Then when an effect suspends a Digimon by suspending this Tamer, gain a memory. So since our deck literally does that, and we can even count our opponent's Digimon getting suspended, which means blocker, which means we could use this to gain memory back, is huge. And then we have 2 Mimis. The Mimi that is basically says, hey guys, I'm going to bring a level 5 out early. So being able to have Tamers is really good. I think this Mimi being a mem setter and everything else, we have a good lineup on the Mimis. The only thing I would probably play other than this Mimi would be the Yoshino, but I have yet to test it enough to say yes. I've tested the Mimis enough. 4 agility trainings just to reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. You know, this snowballs, especially if you're bricking and you only get 1 rookie and you're trying to get to the champion, you're going to do this. And then 1 hidden potential discovered, because why not? So, major thing is it allows you to free Digievolution. Well, a reduced cost of 5, which is not bad. This means Quartzmon's a 1 cost and everything else is free. This leads to Bloomlord being shenanigans because you do crazy stuff. One thing was funny for the Mirage player. He's like, well, we're going to just take that HVD off the top of your deck, put it to bottom. I go like, I'm going to mulligan. My hand wasn't optimal. I said, I'm going to look at the bottom. If this was HVD, flip it up, and it's HVD. And he's like, ah! And I was like, ah! Just funny stuff. You know what? It's fun. I think this is a really solid list. It's a good list for you guys to give it a try. Is this going to win you major events? Possibly. Bloomlord is definitely a tier 1 contender this set. And I think anybody that says otherwise is wrong. Bloomlord just has so much value now, and especially because people are undervaluing Quantumon and understanding its mechanics. So stuff like Quantumon is going to throw people off because this now gives you the answer to SetCon, which is really important because now you have ways of keeping your Digimon alive and just keep chipping away at things smaller and smaller. You know, stuff like that is very important when you're designing deck building. Quantumon is really the heart and soul of the deck. People will say Bloomlord is. No, Quantumon just helps you get the answer you need to go like, okay, so they don't have crazy much going on here. We can definitely go in and not worry about it. But now I know where the Chaos Degradation is. I know where everything is. I know that I just took out probably the bigger of the threat. You know, a thing that's going to minus my DP is not that too much scary. You know, all stuff like that is vitally important. But if you guys want a solid list for Bloomlord, I think this is really a good start for you guys. So definitely take it to some events that you want to go to. And I think time to dust off the Bloomlords, guys. I think it's Bloomlord's time to shine. So, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace!